Yeah, I missed you too, puppy, but I'm back from GDC and the drive to make my game is more powerful than ever. We're currently diving into making our own tutorial, and that really got me thinking, what is the worst tutorial of all time and what can we learn from it? Because tutorials are something people commonly plow through, glance at or entirely skip over, and part of that is because learning isn't fun for a lot of people, but it's also about how we present that information. Because most tutorials are slow, tedious slogs, which is a bummer because it completely futzes with the FTUX. Oh yeah, so the FTUX is the first time user experience, which is monumentally important because if you don't capture your audience narratively or mechanically entice them, they'll usually just put your game down in favor of whatever the latest hentai extravaganza Steam is pushing this week. We need to hook our players, and that's extremely difficult to do. If you want to focus on introducing the narrative through a lengthy cutscene, you're going to lose a lot of the impatient gameplay-focused players who are going to skip it out of spite. And if you jump straight into gameplay tutorials, you're going to lose those thespians asking, "Pray tell, whence the plot?" And that's why the best tutorials are like broccoli covered in cheese, where you don't realise that what you're doing is actually beneficial to you. It's possible to unfold the narrative and teach the player how to interact with its systems all at the same time. For example, Breath of the Wild's The Great Plateau is a microcosm of the greater game at large, giving the player all of the information they need to tackle the rest of the game's challenges while also giving them the freedom to explore and keeping them centralized so they don't become overwhelmed. Each one of the 4 shrines is set up as an introduction to one of the game's mechanics and its uses, a small taste but enough for the player to understand how to apply its function creatively so they can figure out its greater complexities themselves when their shackles are undone via the glider. Mechanically, this tutorial is flawless. Narratively, it leaves a bit to be desired, but the perfect unified example of a tutorial in motion is found within Ghost of Tsushima. From the moment the game starts, we are smack bang in the middle of a Mongol invasion, with one of the most disrespectful and legendary villain introductions of all time. From there, it charges into the action immediately, teaching combat simply by requiring one single action while on horseback. Getting kicked off this horse ups the stakes for our main character, but also provides space to introduce movement into the equation and further combat tutorials. It then reinforces these mechanics as you progress down the beach to charge towards the Mongol leader. A stray explosion leads to your uncle's capture and places you in critical condition, so you need saving, which introduces another main player in the story while also giving a narrative reason for the game to incorporate stealth tutorials. This small 15-minute section introduces everything from narrative hooks to basic mechanical interactions simultaneously. This might be the greatest tutorial of all time, but it only works as well as it does because of the game's simplistic nature. Because how effective your initial tutorial is depends on the complexity of the base game. Yes, introducing combat and stealth mechanics is way easier to do parallel to the narrative compared to conveying the immense complexities of a MOBA. In a lot of cases like this, your entire play experience becomes the tutorial. But for me, the biggest sin comes from tutorials that simultaneously waste the player's time and don't say a lot when they're doing it. Oh, ad break time. Yeah, just give me a second, Ludo. I'm just gonna try and find the right channel.
Have you got endless diarrhea? Yeah, well, have I got the thing for you, cut?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
This video is brought to you by The Deadly Path, a unique fast-paced building management and roguelike RTS. In order to thrive in this underworld, you'll need to gather grim materials, construct diabolical defenses, and appease the rage of the demonic dread deities. I'm not sure if you've ever seen an angry dread deity, but let me tell you, they can be a real pain in the you-know-what. I'm talking about my ass. When you're not groveling at the hooves of these cosmic elder gods, you'll be expanding your base, upgrading your servants, and defending your domain from attackers and other unseen threats. What kinds of unseen threats, you ask? Well, first there's the dickheads, then there's the real and also 7 little sitting on top of making all sorts of Head on over to Steam to pick up The Deadly Path today because these dread deities are restless, and you wouldn't like them when they're restless.
Now, where were we? Yeah, the worst tutorial of all time, Ludo. What is it? Ghost of Tsushima. Have you been eating paint again? No, it's Bethesda's Starfield. When it was released, I cannot tell you how baffled I was by what I was witnessing in its opening moments, and as a form of therapy for myself, let's break it down. It all begins not with us being smashed into the action or evolving intrigue, but standing still, unable to move as two miners exposit directly at us, and the worst thing is, this exposition isn't even directly related to the greater plot at hand. And yeah, this kind of lazy plot summary is used a lot in other Bethesda titles too, but at least when we catch Patrick Stewart talking about his wet dreams of Oblivion Gates, it's directly related to what's going to happen in the rest of the game. Anyway, after this debriefing, we move on to the standard "this is how you move" tutorial. It's a classic, and it's followed by a riveting walk trailing your superiors as they discipline the other plebs. You have to follow them during this, because if you don't or get too far ahead of them, they will stop dead in their tracks waiting for you to return. But their default move speed is half of yours, so you have to do this awkward half-step march to follow at their pace, moving them and the plot forward. Wait, that's not plot, that's rocks. Now, it's really important what you show your player first in gameplay. The FTUX sets up their initial expectations. Think back to Ghost of Tsushima. Starfield opens its space cowboy adventure game by having you dig up rocks. And yeah, it's a mechanic in the game, but I'd go as far as to say that mining might be one of the least important aspects of the game, as it's only really useful for crafting, and crafting in Starfield is completely ignorable. Well, tell me this, Ludo, why would you spend your time collecting materials, researching crafting specifically to upgrade your weapons and gear, when you could just walk into some random pleb's room and find something twice as good just laying on the ground? Exactly. Conditioning this early is good, but having it be your opening act? It's something I've heard Yahtzee waffle on about for years. Is this the most interesting part of your main character's life? If not, why not? Sorry for misquoting you, Yachts, but I also actually agree with this fictional memory of the thing you once told me. Anyway, after some more half-step following, we're finally introduced to a plot thread. We attempt to mine it out and see lights in space and some music? We pass out at this revelation and wake up in character creation. Now, I'm not being facetious by explaining that what we saw was lights and music. That is word for word what the characters describe it as. I mean, these guys ain't got the answers, but some twat outside might. So we head out, and judging by the music that follows, this is the game's grand landscape reveal. We've all seen it before in many other games. It's this self-masturbatory moment of, look at what we've made and what you'll get to explore, you lucky bastard. But here, it's just a bunch of grey hills and, even for its own standards, an incredibly bland skybox. And from amidst this sea of grey descends the MacGuffin dealer's ship, who has come to greet us, or should I say, greet our babysitter, because even as he exits his ship, you have to wait for him to slowly walk towards our superior so you can be told it's okay to talk. This conversation is then rudely interrupted by potential plot, but it turns out just to be some space banditos here to teach us combat, so we need to get strapped up. Usually, when picking up a weapon, it's automatically placed into the player's hand, but due to the overly complex equipment interactions, the game wants us to pick up the gun, go into the menus, then equip the gun itself to replace the mining tool. And this feels clunky and kind of baffling that they focused on teaching mining first and then expect the player to perform twice the amount of tasks under pressure of gunfire. What I can only describe as thrilling combat ensues, and then you're congratulated on your performance. Now, you can attempt to dig for more plot here, but then you're just told that's the million-dollar question. It probably cost $1 million to produce this tutorial. Fuck, zinger. Ludo, got him. Nice. Anyway, we're told nothing, but promised everything if we take this ship and try and find answers on another fucking planet. Let's hope the P in this planet stands for plot. And now, the ship's tutorial itself is pretty decent, I'll have to admit. A diegetic robot begrudgingly and sarcastically explaining the ropes is neat, and it has a pretty interesting power management mechanic, so I'll give that a pass. But our journey to find answers is put to a stop by more dastardly space pirates. Fucking blast. Let's hope the P in pirate stands for plot instead, Ludo. To find out, let's travel down to their base and ransack the place. Oh, what have we found here, Ludo? More confusion. What is an isotopic coolant? How am I going to switch weapons on the fly? Oh, I've picked up grenades, but I want to know how to throw them. Yeah, well, get fucked. Figure out yourself. Now, is there anything wrong with the player figuring things out themselves? Not at all. This can lead to a sense of discovery and can be really rewarding, but they just held me hostage in a cave for 10 minutes to only teach me how to move and mine, locking me into other tutorials for some, but giving me zero information for others. In this daze, we somehow fight our way to the pirate leader himself, and after some relatively decent dialogue system introductions, he proclaims that the plot is in fact not here, and we better be on our way. Right, let's get back to the ship, onto another planet to find the city of New Atlantis, so hopefully we can learn something about anything somehow. Yeah, well, I just chatted to these plebs, Ludo, and I've got some bad news. Turns out the P in planet doesn't stand for plot, but instead, please keep playing our game. Oh, I promise it gets better. Oh god, so within this hour-long tutorial, what does it teach the player about its world, your character's drive or motivations, and what does it teach them mechanically? Well, not much. Now compare this to what Ghost of Tsushima achieves with the same amount of time, or even Oblivion or Skyrim. It's not even apples or oranges, it's gold and sediment. But enough rambling. What can we learn from this and carry it through into what we're making, Ludo? Yeah, you want to try to attempt to set the tone of your experience quickly and build up to a narrative hook as you introduce the player to relevant mechanics they'll carry through for the rest of the game. Cover that apple in peanut butter so the player can have threads to pull on to drive them deeper into the game while also having the relevant information needed to succeed at gameplay. These aren't hard and fast rules by any means, nothing in game dev works like that, but it's good to aim for something until you find what works for the unique experience you're creating. Sometimes that works out, and sometimes you're trapped in the mirror dimension still scrambling to find the plot. I've lost the plot. Correct, but what do you think? Do you think you know of any tutorials that are worse than this? And what do you think an ideal tutorial looks like? Let us know down below, because we would love to discuss this with you. Right, thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you enjoy what we're doing here at Second Wind, why not consider supporting our independent work on Patreon? I'll be honest, down the line you'll even be able to get an exclusive sneak peek at the game I've been secretly working on, so I'll see you all there. Alright, time to say goodbye, Ludo. Alright, bye guys.